Good morning, shareholders. I want us to start the meeting, but before we start, we ask the registrars to let us know the accredited shareholders and if we have formed a quorum. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, esteemed directors, and distinguished shareholders. My name is Bukola James Cole, and I represent Africa Prudential PLC, Registrar to United Capital PLC. We received 287 proxies holding 3,498,780,904 shares, representing 58.31%. With this information, we confirm that the quorum has been duly formed. Thank you.
Can we rise for the national anthem? While still standing, can we ask Bishop Akbore, please, to give us an opening prayer?
Sorry, excuse me. Mike. Okay. Shall we pray, please? Father, we thank you very much. It's always a thing of joy when your people, your children gather to discuss their affairs, look at issues. This morning we have the meeting of the United Capital PLC. And so I invite the Holy Spirit to come down, be in the hearts of everybody, so that it is only the will of God that must be done today, that we go home blessed. For in Jesus' name I have prayed. Amen. Amen. Our Lord Bishop, sir. Lord Bishop.
Chiefs, ladies and gentlemen, the time now is 10 a.m. and I have great pleasure in declaring this meeting open. It gives me great pleasure to introduce the directors of your company. For my right is the Group CEO, Mr. Peter Ashade. Next to him is Mr. Oladepopo Fatokun. To my extreme right is Mr. Oluleke Ogunlewe. Next to him is the Deputy Group CEO, Mr. Sonny Anene. And to my left is the Company Secretary, Dr. Leo Okafor. The board chairman is participating online, Professor Chika Modi. Shall we see him? Okay. And other directors who are not here are participating online. My name is Emmanuel and Norom, the chairman of this extraordinary general meeting. Thank you. May I, shareholders, request that we kindly observe a minute silence for one of us, Chief Shotunde Shobojo, passed on in July 2023. Can we all rise, please? May the soul of the departed rest in peace in Jesus' name. Amen. We have with us here today representatives of the following. For Nigerian Exchange Limited, we have Ms. Dorothy Agide. For Securities and Exchange Commission, we have Mr. Shehu Sani. For Corporate Affairs Commission, we have Ms. Maureen Nwite. I also want to introduce the representatives of the following. The Registrar, Africa Prudential PLC, represented by Mrs. Bukola James Cole. We also have in our midst members of the Statutory Audit Committee, Mr. Paul Olele, Chairman, Pastor Alex Adio, Member, Mrs. Faith George Osman, Member, Sir Stephen Waduko, Member, and Mr. Oladipo Fatokun, Member. We wish to have a full recording of the meeting, so microphones connected to a tape recorder are in use. Please make use of the microphones when you wish to second a motion or ask a question. And remember to state your name clearly and endeavor to be brief and straight to the point. I will now call on the Company Secretary to read the notice of the meeting.
Notice of Extraordinary General Meeting of United Capital PLC. Notice is hereby given that an Extraordinary General Meeting of United Capital PLC will hold on Wednesday, September 13, 2023 at 10 a.m. at the Transcorp Hilton Hotel, 1 Aguiyi-Ironsi Street, Maitama, Abuja, to transact the following business. Special business, amendment of the Articles of Association, to consider and, if thought fit, pass the following with or without modification as special resolutions of the company. 1. That the contents of Article 2, being the article on the classes of shares, be amended to include new Articles 2.1 and 2.2 as follows. The directors may allot new shares created by the company. 2. The directors may issue electronic certificates of shares allotted or transferred to shareholders. Secondly, that the content of Article 5, being the article on the alteration of articles in the Articles of Association, be amended to include a new Article 5.1 as follows. The Board of Directors may from time to time, by a simple resolution, increase its share capital by the allotment of new shares in such amount as it considers expedient. 3. That Article 7 of the Articles of Association of the company be amended by the creation of Articles 7.1 and 7.2 to provide as follows. 7.1. The company's general meetings may be held electronically. 7.2. The company may issue notices to members electronically. 4. That the content of Article 10, being an article on general meetings in the Articles of Association, be amended with the insertion of a new Article 10.1 as follows. 10.1. At any general meeting, a resolution put to vote shall be decided on a show of hands or by electronic voting. 5, that the content of Article 11, being the article on the number of directors in the Articles of Association, be amended to increase the number of directors as follows. 11, save as the company may by ordinary resolution in general meeting otherwise determine, the number of directors shall not be more than 15. 6, that the company's memorandum and Articles of Association be amended to reflect the changes authorized by the foregoing resolutions. 7, to authorize and empower the directors in the name of and on behalf of the company to take or cause to be taken all action required to effect the amendments, including without limitation to the preparation, execution, and filing of the necessary notifications and forms required by the Corporate Affairs Commission and all other regulatory authorities. Dated August 15, 2023, by the order of the board, Leo Okafor, PhD, FCIS, ACS. No. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, shareholders. He actually studied very hard to end that PhD for many years. Okay. It is now time for me to read a letter or explain the purpose of this extraordinary general meeting. You recall that we had our annual general meeting this year in March. And at the time we had the annual general meeting and with the notice of 21 days sent much earlier, we didn't know there were some changes that were coming up with the acts that the government signed off, the last government. And so by the time the AGM was being held, there were some changes already from that act that we couldn't bring up because you send the notice, you can't go back again and start amending the notice or amending, the proxy forms and so on. So for us, we just felt there's a need for us to bring on those changes and to get shareholders' approval. So that, like... Thank you, sir. Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm just trying to make the explanations a little. Now, for example, on the issue of directors, our memorandum articles allows us to have a maximum of 8. Under the new Business Facilitation Act, 1/3 of the directors must be independent. And so if our company growing as big as we'll see every day, we'll have a managing director, group CEO, we'll have a deputy, we'll have also another ED. You're already having 3 executives. Then you now start talking of the non-executives and also to have, the independence. At the same time, gender balancing and so on. So the 8, minorities, they're all shareholders. So the 8, therefore, is a bit of a restriction. And so one of the things we are bringing up here is for shareholders to consider and approve an increase in the number of directors. We are saying 15, not that we're going to have 15 tomorrow, no. It's just to have that leeway so that as we have the need, that comes up. Second item you have in the act that came, the Business Facilitation Act, which some of you, I know, as all shareholders who have all made comments in the past, has to do with the issue of electronic, certificates or issue of maybe virtual meetings and so on and so forth. Our aim is to incorporate it also in our articles that will allow the shareholders and the board to take decisions as the need arises on whether we should have virtual meeting or should have perhaps maybe a physical meeting and so on. Again, it's something we're bringing to shareholders. You also have things like the electronic share certificate. We're not Nigerian Stock Exchange, well, NGX, I would say. Neither are we CSCS, Central Securities Clearing System. All those areas, you find out that everybody is going electronic. And so when you're going to have any offer of shares, whether public share offer, rights offer, and so on, you may no longer have the physical certificate being delivered by registrars. It's now going to be electronic, and it's created straight to your CSS account. Do we have provision for that in articles? No. We need also to bring that in. Now, also the issue of allotment of shares. Please note the issue is allotment. It's not the issue of shares, allotment. Before any shares are issued in any company, particularly our own company, whether by form of rights, public offer, combination, and so on and so forth, shareholders must approve. Shareholders must approve. And so when you have the approval and such shares are, whether in rights, perhaps maybe, or otherwise, as the case may be, then the directors can now approve the allotment, based on, of course, the process will go through SEC and get all the approval and so on and so forth. So all these are the small changes we noticed in our memorandum of articles of association that we felt that we need to bring up and get shareholders to approve that. It is something that could have waited in next year also, but then for the Business Facilitation Act, for example, there's compliance, and your company will not want to be in default of any of the rules that the government has promulgated or in place. Sometimes, whether we agree fully with some decisions or not, but immediately our National Assembly and the executive signs off on any bill, it becomes a law in the country. Of course, you can always ask for amendment and so on. So all of this led to the issues that we now felt there's a need to have this extraordinary general meeting so as to bring it up to our shareholders and seek approval as necessary so that we can have these amendments to the articles that govern our operations. So I needed to explain this because some have asked questions, are we going to start issuing shares to ourselves and then approving it? No, there's no way you can do that. For example, that the authorized capital that we used to have those days, you have authorized, you have issued, and then there's always room to do that. It's all gone. Part of what we did last year was to cancel whatever is unused. So which means that any day we want to ask, or increase our capital, we have to come back to shareholders. And so nobody is going to allot shares to himself or whatever and then approve it and so on. Or it goes through the process again. But at the point when we now have SEC approval, then directors can, based on that, and your SEC is also very thorough, based on that, now conclude whatever is required. So that's actually the genesis of this meeting, and I do hope that shareholders will support the board in all these proposed changes. So but before we go into the resolutions, I'm sure there's still one or two questions people want to ask to be sure they understand all of this very well. So we'll take questions. Okay, let's from this side, let's take 4, then we'll come back this side and take 4. All right, let's start. Don't worry, let's take, make it very brief also, please. Please, the ushers, can you bring the microphone and just don't stand one? Make sure you're walking around and giving people the microphone at the right time. That microphone is not working. Can we change it and take another one? Okay.
All protocol duly observed. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. My name is Okunla Emmanuel Larewaju from Akure. This article 5.1, what do you think will be the implication of the increase in shares from time to time to the value creation of shares of the company invested by the investors as it affects the share price? Then Article 7.12, this is a good thing for you to go on, whether electronically or otherwise. But the disadvantage of the electronically is that many of the investors are cut short of the meeting, because when you rely on this electronic monitoring, sometimes you will not get through with the meeting. Then 7.2, notice to the members on AGM electoral is acceptable. You have been doing it before, so that is acceptable. Then electronic voting favors 10.1. Electronic voting favors the majority shareholders, but shows of hands saves times. Thank you.
Okay, yes.
My respected chairman, my name is Sir Olatunde Okelana, Balogun Olugban of Orile Igban in Oyo State. Having commended your magnanimity for this EGM, I want to find out from you, all this agenda, I do hope none of them will affect minority shareholders. Because the last time when you were speaking about the directors, anytime we want to increase the number of directors, minority shareholder should be taken into consideration. For example, independent director, they are not representing the interests of minority. And other companies in Nigeria today are making sure the minority are represented. Could you please let's have it in your memo, which is important, and I'm speaking the mind of Nigerian shareholders. If it's only one slot you want to give us, if it's true, let us have it. It should be part of the memorandum. Don't just be using us to achieve the company's purpose. I know it's for the benefit of all of us, but please consider us. And having said that, I want to thank United Capital PLC for being one of the most, profitable in the group. And thank you for bringing this thing to your notice. We want to tell you that we have trust in you as the trustee. We trusted you, and that's why we are giving a blanket approval. But please do not disappoint us. God bless you.
Thank you. Okay, no, yeah. Okay, thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am Tunde Badmos. I start by appreciating the good effort you are putting into moving the company forward. And I'm glad that Mr. Nworom is never tired, in spite of the long years you've put into the service of the group. I wish you have more strength. He's a blessed man, and I wish to tap into it so that I will act like you at your age. And congratulate Barrister Leo Okafor. It is not easy to combine your work schedules with academics. And it's a pointer to one direction that possibly you impart your years of knowledge and expertise onto the younger generations, maybe in the academics. And I wish you the best.
Thank you.
And the same thing the same wishes goes to the board. The company is a leader. And since the past AGM, I know you do not rest. Mr. Ashadi and his team doesn't rest. Can you tell us some of those new innovations I saw on the website, which I know will be helpful, so that I will showcase it to the world using this opportunity? Since I must be brief and others are yearning to talk to, let me rest my submission here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hamza? Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Incidentally, all the questions I penned down, you've attended to them in your executive summary, as it may. However, I have one observation. In view of the fact that our company is such that is always compliant and ready to comply. Mr. Chairman, earlier on when you did the introductions, I know that the law asks us to have 5 members of the audit committee, 2 of whom will be directors and 3 representing shareholders. But in your introduction, you introduced 4 sitting on that side, 1 sitting on this side. Can we have an explanation to that? Thank you very much, and God bless.
Okay, yes, let me just take one more here, then we'll answer and then we'll come this way.
Thank you very much, Chair, for the opportunity that you have given to me. Without no wasting time, my name is Ibrude Moses, the now current National Coordinator of Independent Shareholders Association of Nigeria. Yes, laws have been passed. And I know the UBA group and all of you have been part and all of us are family. You see the people here. I believe seeing them once a year, you are happy. But how will you be now by electronica? Meaning that we are not going to see us again. Excuse me. We have seen people doing it. Please, we know very well the law is give us, because of innovation, things are coming up, another platform to hold AGM. But it never eliminates the right of shareholders to attend meetings. So please, going forward, we know this year, it was a rush and all of that. Please add to it, at least if you can combine the two. And when we say electronic, meaning that you use machine to vote or to hold meeting. That is what is electronic. But now the people are changing it is the other way. Like what we had at MTN. The people were there, but they used electronic to vote. They did it well. Both audit committee and all of that, they did it well. So what I'm asking and I'm appealing, that whatever going forward, we should improve on the system so that more people will participate through the electronic means, so that we will not run foul of the law. Because let me tell you, if we go to court and challenge the system, what some people, many of these meetings they held electronically might not go through. But while now we are preparing, we have enough time to do it so that everybody will participate. That is only my appeal. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. We're coming back to this side, but let me just take the 5 questions, 5 comments and our shareholders. The first one was, any increase in shares? That's the question you raised, Nkola. How will it affect share price and so on? Share price is not determined by us. It's demand and supply in the market. You know, if you have more shares, it could be up, it could be down, and so on and so forth. So we'll leave it to the market dictates. All right. What we pray is that we should do well, so that people will continue looking for our shares. All right. The other one is electronic voting favors majority shareholders. I don't think so. You know, the law we have really allows voting to be by show of hands or by poll and so on. When you're voting by poll, unlike the days when we have to do a lot of manual, we add this together, add here. Life is a bit good, thank you. Life is a bit easier with us. All of us have our phones now, we can add things easily, no more adding machines and so on. So it's not really for anybody, it's for all of us. You know, so I'm not saying that any electronic voting favors a particular group, no. For some people that couldn't come to Abuja, they voted, and they want their voting to be reflected. All right. Then also the question from about the issue of independent non-executive directors. The word independent and the definition really allowed by the Act talks of people that are not attached to any of the shareholders. So the independent non-executive director represents all shareholders, and they are really independent by their process. There are some people, you know, I have seen a situation where a director said, sorry, I want to leave a board. Not just because, I mean, you may get stipends and so on, but unless my role as independent is respected. So that's what we need. It's for shareholders. It's not for majority. You may have appointments made, but then the person, you know, and those who have for those roles, they're actually independent for all shareholders. And you also asked a question on the board appointments, minority shareholders. They will always be represented, I would say, sir. You know, if you look at our articles also, it says it's not share qualification as a basis. Who want the best? There are some people that are not interested to buy shares and hold, but they can contribute, they have the knowledge and so on. So as much as possible, we continue to get the best for our institutions. Okay, Tunde talked of Tunde Badmus talked of innovations and so on. Thank you, sir. The CEO know this very well. And we encourage shareholders to continue to patronize us. We have the asset management, we have the securities, we have trustees, and various arms of the business. So please, anytime you visit the website, there's a link to lead you into any of the products. And encourage people also. You know, what some shareholders may not know is that we also have a consumer lending arm. And so we do short-term lending, as the case may be, you know, permitted under the law also. So please patronize us. It will, you know, it will contribute to the numbers here. Yeah, Alhaji Hanza talked about 5 members of the SAC, and that 4 are seated here and 1 here. Let me just say that one of the people seated here, Sir Stephen Waduko, is also a director. Well, sorry, I used the word, was a director, but he's actually retired from the board. But that will come up when we get to the next AGM. Yeah, that's when it will be properly reported. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moses. Electronic voting and eliminate, whether it will eliminate the right of shareholders, it will not eliminate the right of shareholders. As we can, we should also meet. I mean, even when we have all these phones, we are having meetings and so on and so forth. Sometimes, you know, says, sorry, let's stop all these messages. Let's meet.
Community building.
Yeah, because when you meet, sometimes the body language will also pass a message, you know. So, but if the law we have in the country says this, should we comply? Yes. And that's what we're trying to do. In due course, it doesn't mean that there may be some meetings that because of the nature of the meeting, we decide it must be physical. Let the board have that leeway, you know, to do that, and also electronically. Thank you, shareholders. Let's go this way. Okay, let's start with Mrs. Bakare, please. Let's start with the lady.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Board of Directors, regulatory authorities present, my co-shareholders, good morning. My name is Mrs. Bakari Adebisi, National Coordinator of Pragmatic Shareholders Association of Nigeria. Mr. Chairman, ordinarily today we don't need to waste much of your time because you have done a good thing by calling us for this meeting. But as it may now, I won't waste much of your time because my colleagues have asked some of the questions I have in my paper and from your executive summary as well. But Mr. Chairman, I just need the clarification on item 5.1. So I want to ask the board that how could it be beneficial to minority shareholders? I just need a clarification. Then secondly, Mr. Chairman, I would like to talk on resolution 4, item 10.1. I read, at any general meeting, a resolution put to vote shall be decided on a show of hands or by electronic voting. I just want to ask that, is this item inclusive of audit committee election? Because like one of my colleagues mentioned, at MTN, even audit committee election, they voted electronically. So we just want clarification from our board this morning that even election of audit committee, of course, if we are going to hold our AGM virtually, definitely the election of the audit committee is going to be by electronically. We accept that. But like you said, that anytime we are coming for general meeting, we are appealing to the board that election of audit committee should be by show of hands. I just need a clarification anyway that what of election of audit committee. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, Boniface, we'll come to you, sir, after this.
Chairman, Boniface is still in.
No,
Lagos.
sorry, not Boniface. I'm sorry. Sorry, please.
My name is Patrick Adudo. Chairman, it's a pleasure seeing you once again and the board of directors. I just have to explain our consents to you about these resolutions. They are quite okay. And
We only have some little things for you to consider. First is on resolution 2.1. On resolution 2.1, you said that the directors may allot the new shares created by the company. I want to refer you to section 127 of the Business Facilitation Act, where we also make this extraction, that under that section, there is need for us to add that subject to the condition or direction that may be imposed in the articles or by the company in general meeting. That was the explanation under section 127. And the reason is that the intention is to ensure that the directors act in trust of the resolution at the general meeting. So that word needed to be considered. The next point, and I thank God that the CAC is also here, is on resolution 3, 7.1. Mr. Chairman, you said the company general meeting may be held electronically. We have no problem. But what we are telling you is that, please, for the sake of the relationship, the sake of the shareholders, we will please request that, one, you continue to have your meeting physically. Number two is that the worst of it, we have an hybrid meeting, a physical meeting and electronic meeting. The reason because it will enable those who are not present to also queue online and ask their question. So we can go for the two. So in this way, we are asking you to, after electronically, ask also hybrid meeting, so that we'll be able to. Finally, Mr. Chairman, it's on resolution 5. You talk about extending the directors' numbers to 15. Mr. Chairman, we are not against that too, but we implore you to also be mindful that the more directors you have, the more costs is also coming in, and the more also responsibility will be imposed on them. It's a difficult time for every company in Nigeria, and as such, we must also remember the last AGM, the total emolument to directors that was approved is about 130 million to be paid, and you can confirm that. So if we now increase more, then God knows where we are heading to. That was why I can commend all the directors of UCAP. They are well, they have represented us well. They have done so much well. We are happy and we appreciate all of you for a good job. And for those who are going, Mr. Steve Nwaduko and Mr. Sonny Roche, we wish them all the best because they are a great ambassador. Finally, Mr. Chairman, on the capital raising, remember 200 million was approved at the last AGM for capital raising. Are we going to retroactively empower the director to allot this year? Because that resolution have gone. Whether we are bringing it forward now or what, I don't know. Whether it's going to be allotted by the directors themselves. But whatsoever you are doing, put us in mind, because we are also part and parcel of the company. Thank you very much.
Okay, I will come to the, but I think there are some comments I want to make on this question so far, so that we will not really, derail. When at the last AGM we approved capital raising, it's a combination that was approved. Business combination, capital raising, and all that. Whatever is going to be, if the need arises, we come to shareholders. So there's nobody allotting anything. What are you allotting? So So please, it's important to clarify that so that we are all sure of what we are giving the director's mandate to do and whatever. If you apply to SEC for any issuance of shares, even if it's just ₦1, worth of shares and so on, they will ask you for shareholders' resolutions and so on. So we must come back. There's no room now, as I said. The authorized is equal to the issued. Anything you're going to do, you must come back. So I don't think it's actually anybody allotting any shares. Now, the issue of number of directors, I think I explained that earlier, so I don't need to belabor that. And then when you have gotten notice issued to shareholders, and some people have voted, like Bukola told us, who have about almost 59% who have voted, you can't come to the meeting and start amending this and all that. So when you have it's electronic, it's by law, the Business Facilitation Act, that's what we're doing. But if we're going to have a meeting, it's now the directors to decide whether physical, electronic, as the case may be. So I won't be asking that we amend any of these things because some have voted already on this. Okay. Then the issue of Section 127 may allot new shares subject to a condition. Naturally, when you have shares being allotted, it has to be in line with the articles. What we're trying to do is to bring this into the articles to allow it in the first place. Yeah. All right, sir, your questions. After this, we'll come to you, sir.
Thank you.
We said 5. We've taken.
Thank you, Bibu Chairman. My name is Tunji Bamidele, National President of Starlight Shareholder Association of Nigeria, member of GS Shareholder in Africa. I'm here as a representative of a professional investor in Africa. Permit my chairman, I'm listening to all, let me say I'm standing on the existing protocol. This paper you give us to give approval, we are ready to give approval because we are to support the company to move forward.
Thank you.
Because sincerely, the company is making us happy always. But I want to call our attention to certain explanation you said. Newcomer, creation of new store in future or bonus issue. Now, there is a lot of complicated issue that people don't understand. That you are continue explaining it. You are looking at we don't have all issues are authorized. Now, you want to come to the board, you need to bring it out. And if you bring it to the shareholder, can it be in form of bonus? Can it be in form of whatever? Is left to the board for better explanation. But I can advise in future. My advice is this. If there's any amendment in article or memorandum, you can bring the old one and new one beside. They will be able to see the difference between the old one and new one. So there won't be much question.
Okay.
People will be able to see where they are coming from and where they are going. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry, please. Can you give to Alaji?
Mr. Chairman, our directors and management, regulators present, distinguished, our audit committee, distinguished fellow shareholders, good morning. My name is Alaji Otumba Mukhtar, Chairman of the Trusted Shareholders Association of Nigeria, and Otumba of all of Yoruba land and Africa. The Africa was recently added by distinguished friends, and I appreciate that. Mr. Chairman, you see, why we always like to attend any of your meetings is because when we see your faces, we feel, accomplished, we feel satisfied. Because when United Capital started in the past, we have never anticipated such a monumental growth. But look at how the company has grown over the years. So that is why, when I was coming here, I voted 200,000 naira for my trip. When I went online to buy my ticket, they say 190,000. Excluding hotel and other things, I say, well, even if I spend 500,000, I will come here in order to support you. And that is it. Because I'm committed to the company. You are very working hard. Yes. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, we appreciate all these resolutions that you have passed, that you have brought today to the meeting to pass. Mr. Chairman, you know, as the company grows, the need for more skilled hands on the board must arise. Therefore, we appreciate this resolution on the addition, to the directorships, because new skills will be needed on the board as the company grows. Yes. That is a reality. Exactly. But as one of the speakers said, Mr. Chairman, the minority shareholders should be considered too, so that will be part of the company. At least to be, to be airing our own voice, to be giving our own support to the company, so that we feel also that yes, we are part and parcel of the achievements of Mr. Peter Ashade and the board. Mr. Chairman, on the virtual and physical meetings, resolution, I think, yes, no company, no individual in this world, even at our personal levels, nobody can sacrifice the social relationships that we have established over the years, which of course means that, yes, we are passing the virtual, meeting in order to, comply to the law. But at least, I'm sure the company will not be, happy to forsake this social relationship that has been established over the years. I think it's a very good, omen for the company. Even at our personal levels, or whatever we achieve in terms of relationships, we don't like that to crumble, because it's very, very important to our story and to our, life achievement. I think, Mr. Chairman, we should consider that even though we are passing this virtual, of a thing, as you rightly said, I think the board should not forget these social relationships, and sometimes we have to come for the physical meetings. Yes, Mr. Chairman. Yes, my prayers are too that when you are bringing people to the board, you should bring those people like you. Look at your faces. Reflections of seriousness, skills, experience, and hard work. So anyone you are bringing, bring people like you, so that at least we know that yes, our company will continue to grow. Look at what Peter Ashade has achieved. You remember a few years ago when he was appointed, we all said, we are very happy that United Capital is going to grow. And we have not been disappointed. Look at the monumental growth that he has brought. I appreciate him. And Mr. Chairman, let me also appreciate our company secretary, Mr. Leo. You can see how I jumped and say, look at this matured and concentrated presentation. How about Leo? Please, I congratulate you. We are happy with you. Please keep it up. Lastly, Mr. Chairman, one of my last prayers about what BC Bakara has said about the audit committee elections. I think it will not make it will not make any sense for, even if there is a virtual, voting, for the directors to back any of the audit committee members. So I think at any meeting, there is a register of those people that have been attending even the virtual meeting. I think those people can be allowed to vote. Those people that are attending the meeting can vote for any of the committee of their choice. Yeah, rather than for the, for the company or for the directors to also use their own, strengths to vote for the audit committee members, which I think is a general assembly. They are going to represent the general assembly. So I think since there will be a register of attendance, I think those people in attendance, even if at a virtual meeting, they can be considered only to vote. If there are, for example, 30 people in attendance or 50, those only 50 people can vote by show of hands, because I think in the application there is a place that you can vote. So only those number of people from the minority, shareholders that are available can be allowed to vote for the audit committee members. I think this is just an advice. Yes. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, and we appreciate all of you. Thank you very much.
All right. The last will be this. Yeah, the last person. Yeah, you know, we said 5 on each. This is the last. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will be very, very brief. My name is Eric Akinduro from Ibadan Zone Shareholders Association. Briefly, Mr. Chairman, I need to start to commend the board, the management, and the staff of this company. You have really done well, because looking at the share price of UCAP this morning, it's almost 16 naira. And thank you. So to show to us that a small company can go far, it's not because of anything, but look at the people at the helms of affairs of that company. And that is what we are seeing in what you are doing today, and we appreciate you. And we pray that you continue so that you can give us more returns as investors. And also, Mr. Chairman, I will quickly go to that item, which is the main theme, that is 7.1. The company's general meetings may be held electronically. From the recent experience in our electronic meetings, Mr. Chairman, we can realize that as a nation, we have not gotten to that level. We have a lot of issues when it comes to electronic meetings. Many AGMs that we attended electronically in the recent past, we know that virtually all are not okay. So we want you, Mr. Chairman. It's a good thing, because one thing about life is that it keeps on changing, and we must change with life. But one thing we need to consider is that let us get to that level. It's a very good thing if we are into that level as a nation. If our technology, everything that we have is okay, it's the best thing for us, because it's cheaper, it's cost effective for the company, and even safer for the shareholders. But let us get to that level as a country, so that electronically we can be okay. And finally, Mr. Chairman, I'm looking at a very good item, which I believe that we're supposed to have put in this our agenda this morning. That is interim dividend. I don't know, I think it's better for us to add that as part of our agenda, that from time to time, United Capital PLC will declare interim dividend as it deemed fit for shareholders. We are up to that, Mr. Chairman, and I believe we can do it. The Lord will bless us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you very much, all shareholders. We've taken all the questions, and I think in course of this, I've also tried to provide responses. There's one that is on the floor here now, the issue of the audit committee, which BC Bakari raised, and whether by implication, when you're doing electronic voting, it will be electronically done rather than show of hands inside the meeting hall. I think it's something that's very good. I want shareholder groups to please meet, think through the processes and so on. And maybe you might ask SEC for their own opinion. For example, when you come to that at the AGM, not what we're doing today, you have the people, they just stand and people vote for them. If you have to vote electronically, perhaps maybe there will be names of those people who are contesting, quote, stated in the notice, stated in the proxy form. Then also possibly you may have small brief, let me just say, profile, so that if you are seeing Hamza's name, you have a small profile. If you have this person's name, you have a profile, so you know who we are voting for. But for those who cannot attend the meeting, who are voting already, who have voted and sent to the registrars, then it means they will be able to know what they are voting for. But I think it's something we should study. You all know the issue of show of hand, electronic and all that came up more recently, so I'm sure we'll find a solution by the time we get to next year. All right, so thank you all shareholders for the comments we have all made. We will be going through the items we have on the agenda, and so the first item on the agenda is the amendment of Article 2. Amended to include new Articles 2.1 and 2.2 as follows. The directors may allot new shares created. 2.1, the directors may allot new shares created by the company. 2.2, the directors may issue electronic certificate of shares allotted or transferred to shareholders. I now put the motion to the meeting. Who seconds that? Madam, yeah. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity. My name is Akitunde Meru. I second that motion.
Thank you. Those in favor of this motion, please. You are giving the electronic part. Sorry, please, shareholders, if you are in support, press 1, so that the registrars will be able to add up that with those that have voted earlier. Yeah. Let's follow what we are. Our regulators are here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Please, distinguished shareholders, we would like you to activate your voting devices. Please press any key to activate. That way, we'll be able to use the devices to vote. I'll just remind us, the button 1 is for a yes vote, for those who want to vote in favor, and the button 2 is for a no vote, for those who want to vote against. Pressing any other key will mean that we have abstained from voting. Thank you. We can now proceed. Yes, with the first resolution. Please proceed to vote. IT, please, can we display the voting screen? The voting session will last for just 20 seconds. The voting has now commenced. We have 5 seconds to go. The voting session has now ended, and we have 3,503,798,185 shares, representing 100% of the votes cast here today. Thank you.
I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. Thank you, shareholders. The next item on the agenda is the amendment of Article 5. I hereby move that the content of Article 5, being the article of association on the alteration of articles, be amended to include a new Article 5.1 as follows. 5.1, that the Board of Directors may from time to time by a simple resolution increase its share capital by the allotment of new shares in such amount as it considers expedient. I now put the motion to the meeting. Would all those in favor of this? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Alhaji Kazim Olaiwola. I second that motion respectively.
Thank you. Okay, using our voting parts, all those in favor of the motion, please vote 1, and if you're against that, vote 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The voting process has now commenced. Please note we have just 20 seconds for this session. IT, can we display the screen? The voting session has commenced. Please let's press our referenced numbers on the voting device. We have about 17 seconds to go. IT, please note every session is for 20 seconds. We have 5 seconds to go. The voting session has now ended. And again, we have 3,504,180,489 shares, representing 100% in favor of this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. I now declare that the motion has been duly carried unanimously. Thank you, shareholders. The next item on the agenda is amendment of Article 7. I hereby move that Article 7 of the Articles of Association of the company be amended by the creation of Article 7.1, Article 7.1 and 7.2 to provide as follows. 7.1, the company's general meeting may be held electronically. 7.2, the company may issue notices to members electronically. And now put the motion to the meeting. Would those...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Adeyekun Kayode Victor. I second that motion. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right, you can vote with your voting pads. If you are voting yes, you press 1. If you are voting no, you press 2. Voting starts. Registrars.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Please note we have 20 seconds. Kindly proceed to vote in line with your voting decisions. The voting session is ongoing. We have less than 10 seconds to go. The voting session has now ended. And we have 3,504,172,018 shares, representing approximately 100% voting in favor of the resolution. And we have 6,434 shares, representing 0.000000% voting against the resolution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. Thank you, shareholders. The next item on the agenda is amendment of Article 10. I hereby move that the content of Article 10, being an article on general meetings in the Articles of Association, be amended with insertion of a new Article 10.1 as follows. 10.1. At any general meeting, a resolution put to vote shall be decided on a show of hands or by electronic voting. I now put the motion to the meeting.
I am Goodluck Akpore. I support that motion.
Thank you, sir. And thank you, shareholders. All those in favor, please press 1 on your voting pad. And if you are against, press 2. Voting starts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The voting session has commenced. Please press your reference button in line with your voting decision. We have less than 15 seconds to go. Less than 10 seconds to go. The voting session is gradually coming to an end. The session has now ended. We have 3,503,544,534 shares, representing approximately 100% who have all voted in favor of the resolution. And we have 1,772 shares, representing 0.0000 who have voted against the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, shareholders. I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is amendment of Article 11. I hereby move that the content of Article 11, being the article on the number of directors in the Articles of Association, be amended to increase the number of directors as follows. Save as a company may by ordinary resolution in general meetings otherwise determine, the number of directors shall not be more than 15. I now put the motion to the meeting. Who seconds this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is...
Are you obedient? Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you, sir, Mr. Chairman. My name is Mrs. C.O. Obide, National Coordinator. I so do.
Thank you. Voting starts. If you are in support, press 1 on your voting pad. And if you are against, press 2 on your voting pad.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The voting session has now commenced. Please proceed to vote in line with your decision, pressing the reference number. IT, can we have the screen? Thank you. The session is ongoing. We have less than 15 seconds to go. We have less than 5 seconds. The session is gradually coming to an end. The voting session has now ended, and we have 3,503,228,971 shares, representing approximately 100% and voting in favor. And we have 3,782 shares, representing 0.00 shares and voting against the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. Thank you, shareholders. Next item is resolution number 6. I hereby move that the company's memorandum and article of association be amended to reflect the changes authorized by the foregoing resolutions. I now put the motion to the meeting.
My name is Kabiru Abdullahi Tambari. I hereby second the motion. Thank you.
All right, voting starts. If you are in favor of the resolution, please press 1, and if you are against, press 2. Registrars.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The session has now commenced. Kindly proceed to vote in line with your voting decision. We have less than 15 seconds to go. We are gradually coming to an end. We have less than 2 seconds. The session has now ended. We have 3,503,608,958 shares, representing an approximation of 100%, and we have voting in favor of the resolution. Now we have 305 shares, representing 0.00% voting against the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, shareholders. I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. Thank you. The next item is resolution number 7, to authorize and empower the directors in the name of and on behalf of the company to take or cause to be taken all action required to effect the amendments, including without limitation to the preparation, execution, and filing of the necessary notifications and forms required by the Corporate Affairs Commission and all other regulatory authorities. I now put the motion to the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity. My name is Erin Folami Gafar. I second the motion. At last.
Thank you. Those in support, please press 1 on the voting pad, and those against, press 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The voting session has now commenced. Please proceed to vote in line with your voting decision. Distinguished shareholders, please let's proceed to vote. We have less than 10 seconds to go. The voting session has now ended. We have 3,504,170,729 shares, representing approximation of 100% and voting in favor of the resolution. And we have 305 shares, representing 0.000% and voting against the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, shareholders. I hereby declare that the motion has been duly carried. Ladies and gentlemen, as there is no other business on the agenda, I would like to thank you all on behalf of the board for attending this meeting and showing so much interest in the company's affairs. I will now ask you to please give us the closing prayer. Can we all rise? Can we all rise?
Sallu ala Nabi al-Karim.
Sallu ala Nabi al-Karim. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Praise be to Almighty Allah, the Lord of the world, the beneficent, the merciful. He alone do we worship. He alone do we seek for assistance. guide us to the right path. The path of those who enjoy your pleasure, not the path of those who attract your wrath. We thank Almighty Allah from the beginning that give us the beginning of this meeting. And we thank him again for the successful ending. We pray to Almighty Allah to grant dawning mercy to each and every one of us, to our respective destination. Amen. We thank Almighty Allah on our directors. May Almighty Allah continue to give you more wisdom, strength, sound health, and capability to pilot the affairs of the company. In the name of Almighty Allah, I pray. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammadin. Salatan tunajina bi amin jami'al awal wal afat wa takdilana bi jami'al ajat wa tutakhiruna bi amin jami'al sayyat wa tarfa'una bi akhala darajat wa tuballighuna bi aqsal gayat min jami'il khairat fil ayat wa ba'da al mamat innaka ala kulli shay'in subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Imam Muhammad Atanda is my name.
Please, can we have the national anthem?
National anthem.